There's a specific kind of advice that I think every single person listening has heard it.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
It's when you're at your most frustrated, you're trying to learn something, maybe a language or fix something. You hit a wall, you're completely stuck.
And you vent to a friend.
Exactly.
Oh.
And they give you that look, that sympathetic look, and they say, just be patient.
Give it time.
Trust the process. And honestly, in that moment, that is probably the most annoying thing anyone can say.
Because it feels passive.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the solution is to just do nothing.
It feels like you're standing at a bus stop in the middle of nowhere, just waiting for a bus that is never, ever going to show up.
Well, it feels that way because I think we have a fundamental misunderstanding of what progress actually looks like. We hear the word gradual, and we immediately think slowly over a long period of time.
Right. It's about the clock.
But the source material for today's deep dive, this look into structural alignment and the logic of ordered dependency, it suggests that gradual has almost nothing to do with time passing.
Okay, that's a pretty bold claim to start with. If gradual doesn't mean over time, what does it mean? To me, gradual implies a long, slow slope.
Let's use the central metaphor from the notes. Think of a jigsaw puzzle.
Okay.
You dump 1,000 pieces on the table. You can see the picture on the box. Now, if you just sit there and stare at that pile of cardboard for, 10 years, does the puzzle solve itself?
No.
Obviously not.
Does waiting for the pieces to ripen help?
No, they're cardboard. They don't change.
Exactly. Solving a puzzle is not about the passage of time. It's about assembly. It's about picking up a piece and testing the fit. Does this shape interlock with that one?
It's binary. It either fits or it doesn't.
Yes. And so gradual, in this context, means step-by-step assembly. It implies a sequence of operations, not a duration. So, if I'm forcing a puzzle piece into the wrong spot, I can push as hard as I want, wait as long as I want. But the picture is never going to form.
You're not just wasting time. You're actively blocking the assembly. Progress requires removing the misfit. So our mission today is to look at two specific texts, MN 107 and MN 56. And I have to warn you, on the surface, they can look like dry, ancient lists of rules.
But we're not reading them that way.
No, we're going to read them as engineering schematics.
Engineering schematics for the mind.
Precisely. We're going to look at the structure of the machine in the first text, and then the engine that drives it in the second.
All right, let's pop the hood. We're starting with MN 107, the Gatthakamoggallana Sutta. And yes, I did practice that.
It paid off. Sounded good.
Thank you. So in this text, a Brahmin accountant Moggallana asks the Buddha if there is an ordered training. He likes things to be linear.
Of course, he's an accountant. And the word he uses is anupupasika. He's asking about architecture. Is there a sequence or is it just random?
And typically when we hear ordered training, we think of a syllabus. First grade, second grade. It implies a timeline. Do this for 5 years, then you graduate.
But the Buddha's response just completely sidesteps that idea. He points to structural professions. Building a staircase? Archery.
The staircase is a great example.
Right. You don't build the second step after a while. You build the second step because the first step is stable.
I see the difference. You can't stand on the third step if the second one is missing. It's not about waiting for the cement to dry. It's about the structural integrity of what's below it.
They're non-interchangeable prerequisites. You don't get better at accounting by staring at a ledger for a decade. You need the competence of basic math first. If that condition isn't met, time is irrelevant.
So in the text, when the Buddha lays out this training, he uses this very specific logic. He keeps saying, when this is present, then I train him further.
That is the key phrase, when this is present. It's conditional activation.
Like a logic gate.
Exactly. Like a circuit. If switch A is closed, then current B can flow. If switch A is open, nothing happens. It doesn't matter how patiently you wait for the electricity.
This really recontextualizes the whole list he gives, because usually people read these lists in Buddhism as like a ladder of virtue. Be a good person, then be disciplined. Like a moral report card.
But they're functional requirements. They're descriptions of removing interference.
Like checking the oil before you start the car.
Exactly. Let's take the first one. Sila, ethics.
Right. Usually translated as don't do bad things, don't be a jerk.
But structurally, Sila is the removal of self-generated instability. Think about it from a systems perspective. If you are constantly lying or stealing, what do you do to your own internal operating system?
You're creating stress, looking over your shoulder, trying to keep stories straight.
You're introducing contradiction. A system that's constantly fighting itself cannot bear a heavy load. It's vibrating. You fix that not to be a good person, but to stop the structural vibration so you can build on top of it.
A tower on a shaking foundation. Makes sense. Okay, next is Indriya Savara, restraint. That word always sounds like repression to me.
And again, let's look at the engineering. This isn't about squeezing your eyes shut so you don't see pleasant things. It's about preventing appropriation at the point of contact.
Other decode that for me.
It means leak prevention. If every time you see something pleasant, you grab at it, or see something unpleasant, you push it away. Your energy is being hijacked. You're just a reaction machine.
You see a cookie, you want it. You hear a loud noise, you hate it.
You're leaking power. Restraint just seals the leaks.
Okay, so we've stopped the shaking with ethics, sealed the leaks with restraint. Next is moderation in eating. Honestly, this always feels like diet advice randomly thrown into a spiritual text.
It's load management. It prevents gross physiological agitation. If your body is heavy and dull from overeating, the mind lacks the clarity to see fine detail. It's purely functional.
You can't do fine detail work with a blunt tool.
Exactly. And then Jagarya, wakefulness.
So establishing the availability of energy, keeping the system online.
Yes. If the system is asleep, it can't process anything.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting for me. The next step is sati sampajanya, usually translated as mindfulness. But our notes here say we should be really careful with that word.
Right, because mindfulness has become this buzzword for, being in the moment. We want to avoid that temporal language.
So it's not moment-to-moment watching.
In this structural context, it's more about establishing a non-delusional orientation.
Non-delusional orientation. That sounds serious.
It is. It's situational awareness. It ensures that when you withdraw, which is the next step, you aren't just zoning out. You're oriented. You know where you are, what you're doing, what your purpose is. It's the difference between being spaced out and being locked in.
And after that, viveka, seclusion.
The removal of ambient interference. You've stabilized the internal system. You've stopped the leaks, managed the load. You're oriented. Now, and only now, you step away from the noise.
And the result of all this?
Yeah.
This assembly.
The result is jhana, meditative absorption. But here's the kicker. Jhana isn't a reward you get for being good for 10 years. It is the natural operating mode of an unobstructed system.
Wow. That's a huge shift. It's like if you build an engine correctly, put in the fuel, and clear the exhaust, the engine just runs.
It has to run.
You don't have to pray for it to run or wait for it.
It is a functional consequence. If the conditions are present, the result happens.
But hold on, this brings up the Brahman's big question. He listens to all this and says, okay, if the map exists and the guide exists, why do some people make it and others don't?
It's the most important question in the text.
Because if it's just engineering, everyone should get the same result.
Exactly. And if the path was about time, the answer would be, oh, they just need more lifetimes or something. But the Buddha doesn't say that. He gives the road analogy. He says, I only point out the road.
That sounds almost dismissive, like, hey, not my problem.
It's not dismissive. It's devastatingly simple. The road doesn't move. The guide isn't hiding anything. The failure is a structural failure. It's a wrong turn.
And a wrong turn isn't a sin, right? It's not that they're bad people.
No, it's a misalignment. Misreading the function of a factor. It's a missing support. Imagine driving across a bridge, but a pillar is missing. You cannot endure your way across that gap.
You can't wait your way across it either.
Never. You fall, you have to go back and install the support. The path is precise, not slow.
This idea of precision, it seems like the perfect transition to our second text, MN 56, the Upali Sutta.
Yes.
Because if MN 107 is about the structure, the chassis, the gears MN 56 is about the engine, the thing that actually drives causality.
Yes. And this one is dramatic. It's not a lecture. It's a showdown, a debate.
Okay, set the scene for us.
So on one side, you have the Nigathas, a major rival school. Their view is that the weight of our lives, our karma, is located in physical contact.
So what your body does is all that matters.
All that matters. So their practice is extreme external control. Don't move, don't step on bugs, use cold water, stop the body, you stop the karma.
And on the other side is the Buddha.
Arguing that the real hinge of causality is satana intention, the mind.
So the Buddha decides to stress test their model. And he basically traps their star debater Upali in a logic puzzle.
He does. He asks him, okay, imagine a Nigataya is walking and he accidentally steps on a bug. Didn't know it was there. Is that bad karma?
And according to their own doctrine,
Upali says, no, because there was no intention to kill.
Boom. Strike one for the physical model. The physical act is identical. The bug is dead either way.
But he admits it doesn't count because the mental component was missing. So then the Buddha flips it. He says, what if a man stands perfectly still, but in his mind, he intends to kill everyone in the city? Is that bad?
And Upali has to admit.
He says, yes, that is a grave offense.
And just like that, the whole physical first model, it collapses.
Totally. Once you admit that intention is what makes an action count, you've admitted the mind is the boss. Intention is the hinge condition. It's what configures an action to function as karma.
But let me play devil's advocate. I mean, sure, thoughts matter, but isn't a physical action? Doesn't it have more weight? Thinking about punching someone is different than actually doing it.
And that's what the Buddha brings in this city analogy to show why the mind is actually more powerful. He asks Upali, imagine 1,000 men with swords trying to destroy the city of Nandanda. That's going to take a while, right?
Sure, physical force scales linearly, one door at a time.
But then he asks, what about a sage with a properly or improperly configured mind?
He says a mind could destroy the city instantly.
And we don't need to get into superpowers to see the structural point. He's talking about leverage. The mind is a multiplier. One mental configuration can launch 1,000 ships.
Or 1,000 missiles, in modern terms.
Right. Physical action is just the trailing edge of a mental configuration. You don't change your system's output by pushing harder on the gears. You change the software.
So, let's connect this back to karma. Because the common view is this cosmic bank account. I do good, I get a coin. I do bad, I lose a coin. And I wait for the payout.
The gradual accumulation view again. But in this structural view, karma is functional configuration. An action only has weight insofar as intention appropriates it. It's about how the system is rigged right now.
Not a ledger, but the shape of the machinery.
Exactly. And this leads to Upali's conversion. This is what's so wild. He changes his mind right there. He doesn't go away and meditate on it for 20 years.
He didn't need time.
He needed a coherent model.
Yeah.
His old one was full of contradictions. The Buddha gave him one that worked, and click. The text says, on that very seat, the dust-free Dhamma eye arose.
On that very seat. That's the opposite of waiting. It stabilized immediately because the conditions were met. The missing piece was found.
And that brings us to the last metaphor from the source, the cloth.
The dyeing of the cloth. This is a great one.
The Buddha says if you have a dirty, stained cloth, oil, mud, whatever, and you dip it in blue dye, what happens?
Yeah. It looks awful. Muddy, uneven, a mess.
But if you have a perfectly clean white cloth and you dip it,
it takes the color instantly. Perfectly.
The cloth isn't waiting to be dyed. The dye isn't ripening. It is entirely a matter of compatibility. If the surface is prepared, if the interference is removed, the result is immediate.
You cannot outweight a wrong causal model.
You just can't. No amount of patience will fix a structural error. If the cloth is dirty, time won't clean it. You have to wash it.
So let's bring this all together. We started with the frustration of just be patient. But this deep dive tells a totally different story.
Yeah, MN 107 showed us that gradual means ordered dependency. It's an assembly line, not a waiting room. And MN 56 showed us the engine of that assembly is intention.
So progress is not about how much time you put in. It's about alignment.
It's about the removal of interference. If you remove the obstruction, the water flows. You don't have to wait for the water to decide to flow. It flows because the channel is open.
So here's a thought for everyone listening to carry with them. If you are feeling stuck somewhere in your life, your career, a creative project, anything, and you're frustrated that it's taking so long,
stop looking at the clock.
Right. Stop asking, how much longer will this take?
And instead, look at the structure. Ask yourself, which piece of the assembly is currently missing?
Or, where have I forced a piece that doesn't actually fit? Because once you find that alignment, you might be surprised at how gradual suddenly becomes immediate.
The picture forms when the pieces fit, not a moment sooner.
Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.